you have trouble memorizing things? I do. I remember back in grade 10 English class, we were required to do some memory work. There was this passage about 2 paragraphs long in the book, Who Has Seen the Wind by W.O. Mitchell, where the father was talking to his son. I don't remember their names, but I do remember that the father was telling his son about the first chapter in the biblical book of Genesis. The father didn't quote the chapter verbatim. He paragraphed the story in his own words. Everyone in the class had to memorize the exact same passage that the father told. So if you got even one measly word wrong, everyone in the classroom, but me, of course, would know it. You see, I was the only student in the classroom who didn't have the passage memorized. I knew the passage, but I didn't have it memorized verbatim, word for word, not even close. I tried and I tried and tried, but I could never get it correct in the time allotted. I hated memory work. I avoided school courses that required a lot of memory work. I hated memory work. So the day comes when we all have to go up to the front of the class, one by one, and regurgitate the passage. I watched each student before me cite the passage verbatim. Many got through okay, some struggled a bit, and any word that the student missed or erred, I could tell by the looks on all the other students in the classroom. The situation was very frightful, very, very tense. It was like each student going to the gallows and watching them die one by one and not knowing if you were next in queue. William Byrd, oh God, it's my turn now. Not having the passage memorized, I walked up to the front of the classroom. Now I knew what the passage was all about, just as the father in the story knew what Genesis was all about. But he didn't have Genesis memorized verbatim, so he paraphrased it. And that is what I did. I didn't even try to get the words correct. I just told a story. I stood in front of the class and I told the story in my own words that the father paraphrased of Genesis. As I opened my mouth and spoke the first sentence of the passage in my own words, the faces of the students was nothing less but open jaw, stunned shock. As I progressed through the passage with my own words, the class became uncontained, laughing its guts out in uncontrollable stitches. I tell you, I remember students on the floor hanging onto their sides, almost crying. I got through the passage, and then I looked at the teacher sitting at the back of the classroom. He looked back at me, his eyebrows raised up, and then there was a slight expression of satisfaction on his face. I remember him saying something along the line of, well, that's a paraphrase of a paraphrase. All right. He smiled. He wrote down a mark, and I wasn't asked to do it over. Okay, listen. Nobody can do everything. Nobody. Everyone has a limitation. So, it's okay to not be perfect at something. It's okay if you're having trouble memorizing passages or whatever your challenge is. That is simply who you are. You're okay to be you. Build on your strengths, whatever they may be, and do the best you can, whatever you find yourself doing. Even if it's not perfect or the best, let it be your best. The teacher's challenge wasn't actually that you could demonstrate memory work. The challenge was that you'd be brave enough to do public speaking. The teacher provided a passage to memorize to make it simpler for us by giving us something to hide behind as we speak at the front of the class. I was actually more daring, confident with public speaking than the other students were, as I presented who I was, my interpretation of my words. The other students took advantage to hide who they were behind the passage they presented. They took it as their main goal to hide. But I got laughed at, right? Horrifying, right? No, You see, I wasn't laughed at, but they were laughing. I wasn't laughed at. I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel embarrassed at the class laughing. They weren't laughing at me. Then why were they laughing? They were laughing because they were afraid. I did what the other students were afraid to do. I was the bravest of them all. I was proud of what I did then and still am to this day. I did something good for myself that day and for the class. I broke the negative tension in that room. For the remaining students that were to speak, the evil tension was gone. They could relax, for none of them were going to do as badly as I did. None of them were going to get exposed as I did. My speech was the most memorable. My speech showed the most confidence. My speech showed myself. My speech was the best. I'm okay. You're okay. Okay? Okay. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for clicking the like button. And thank you for subscribing. As always, it touches my heart. Thank you.